We are watching those bans and what they mean for us this morning. You're coming off of that Labor Day Monday. School is closed all across the board here on this Tuesday, so we have what you need to know. Good morning, I'm Eric Yutzi.
And I'm JC Burge. We are joined by our Weather Authority meteorologists. We've got Luke Doris and Julie Durda on standby, tracking everything you need to know about this hurricane, whether you live here with us or whether you have family in the Carolinas.
Yeah, indeed, because that's going to be the area we need to be paying attention to once the system finally takes that north track. We are waiting for that. Unfortunately, for the last 24 hours, it has been stalling over the Bahamas, the northwestern half of the Bahamas. Islands that don't need any more rainfall or life-threatening storm surge, they have been dealing with this system for quite some time. So as of the 5 a.m. advisory, the winds are 120 miles per hour, pressure 950 millibars. It is stationary and located about 105 miles just east of West Palm Beach, Florida. And I think you'll remember yesterday at this time, it was about 150 miles. That was just the eye wall, the center of circulation. So really it hasn't moved all that much. And also it went through an eye wall replacement. And right now you can see it doesn't look very impressive, pretty jagged as it's starting to move, jog a bit more towards the north. We need to focus on the outer bands of the system for our local impacts, but unfortunately the damage is already done for the northwestern half of the Bahamas, and they continue to have to deal with hurricane force winds, rain, and storm surge. For us here in South Florida, a tropical storm watch is in effect and continuing for Broward County, hurricane watch and a tropical storm warning for West Palm Beach and north of that area. So you are highlighted anywhere from Deerfield Beach, Pompano Beach, Coral Springs, North Lauderdale, Markham Park, Weston, Sunrise, Davie, Pembroke Pines, Miramar, all the way to Hollywood under this tropical storm watch, because we are expecting tropical storm force winds, the possibility of winds of 40 miles per hour sustained or stronger in Broward County. We are expecting a gust to reach all the way into Miami-Dade. So even though Miami-Dade, you are not under that tropical storm watch, tropical storm wind gusts have been expected and actually were felt yesterday. We had some reports of it over parts of Miami Beach by the Frost Museum. So we are expecting more of that to come as we continue to watch the system head north eventually. The thing you'll notice this morning too is that that forecast cone has kept the system further away from the coast of Florida. We'll need to continue to watch it. You know who has more details on that and that forward path is meteorologist Luke Doris.
Some good news for Florida, huh, Julie, as we see that forecast cone. Of course, as you get closer to the time that it's set to move, the uncertainty gets narrower and narrower. So the cone thus gets narrow because the averages of the errors that far out get fewer. So anyway, we've seen the cone shrink, and the forecast is it's going to stay offshore. Now, it's going to be a close shave. It's closer than we would like, but at this point, that's the way it looks. Still, Bahamas getting just absolutely hammered with this storm, as it's been over some locations for 15, 18 hours. The eye wall, the worst part of the storm, stuck. It's absolutely horrible. But by this evening, what we have been waiting on is some movement, and finally it's here. So it gets a tug northward. Still a Category 3 forecast at 120 miles per hour, and by Wednesday, further north up in the central parts of the state. There it is on the water vapor imagery. It's not as healthy looking of a storm as it was yesterday. Yesterday, we started to watch some structural changes. The internal mechanics of the storm adjusted. When that happens, you expect the winds to drop. You expect the storm to get larger, though, so it's not necessarily a good thing. It's got some bad with it, too. Why are we going to see the movement? Well, high pressure is out on the east side. That's pushing the storm northward. And another high pressure is pushing the storm southward. These two cancel each other out. They don't do anything. That's why the storm has stalled. But the difference with today is this upper level low. That's going to grab the storm and finally pull a little tug on it northward. So this is the past, what do we have, a 6-hour loop here? This is a 6-hour radar loop, and you can see the eye wall not nearly as well structured as it was this time yesterday. It's got some gaps in it, especially on the west and south side, but still nonetheless, just around Freeport and over on the east side of the island, Sweeting Key, they've been dealing with it, and also the storm surge on the north side and the southeast side. It's just been horrendous there. Marsh Harbor still on the outer edges of it, getting tropical storm force winds, hurricane gusts. And if you look at this, the center of the storm right now is about, we'll say 20 or so miles further east than where it was expected to be. The models had put it over here. The storm was moving west, it stopped, and because it's not in this location, then it should stay offshore of Florida. That's what the models all have now. They see that it's stopped and it wasn't able to drive further west. Thus, as we go through the rest of the day and it pulls away from South Florida and runs up the central and eastern part of the state, it stays offshore with the core. That doesn't mean that we won't see impacts in Florida, as it's going to bring storm surge. You know, you get this northeast flow that's going to pile up the water, and also hurricane force winds occur well outside of just where that eye wall is. So it's still going to bring impacts, but it doesn't look to be a landfall for Florida unless some drastic change were to happen in the central and northern part of the state. Doesn't look likely at this time, but the Carolinas, they will be on alert by midweek, and we'll be tracking that. Julie, here at home, I know that those rain bands are going to be gusty at times. What do we have?
We've already seen some of those gusts, you're right, Luke. Well, this morning, Broward County dealing with some moderate to heavy precipitation creeping into your area very early this morning, but now it's just to the north of you. So Boca Raton, get ready. Some storms will be headed your way. We have a little bit of a drizzle over Parkland, so not too much in the way of rainfall affecting you right now over Broward and Miami-Dade. The Keys dealing with some moderate to heavy precipitation as well. And what we'll notice is these bounds will come and go. Look at this right now. Marathon dealing with some moderate to heavy precipitation. And we're noticing as that precipitation continues across parts of Marathon, it will push from the northwest to the southeast. And then all of these showers will continue to push right into the same area. So that's the one thing we'll notice. When you start to see the beginning of rain bands, those bands will continue to affect the same areas before seeing a break. Embedded in those storms, yep, winds. Look at our winds right now, anywhere between 13 to 20 miles per hour. This is Hialeah with the strongest wind, but gust even stronger. Look at the wind gust in the 20s in Pompano Beach, Pembroke Pines, and Hialeah. Wind gust in the Keys at 18 miles per hour embedded in those storms. So the wind forecast is that Miami-Dade through this evening, we'll deal with tropical storm force wind gust possible. We've already seen it happen in some of the neighborhoods in Miami-Dade. Broward, we're expecting tropical storm force winds with tropical storm force wind gusts this morning into this evening. And obviously West Palm Beach will continue that trend going into tomorrow. So here's the timing. I'm forecasting the chance of those strong tropical storm force wind gusts for Fort Lauderdale to start anywhere between 8 until about 7 o'clock tonight. And that means tropical storm force sustained winds as well. So that's a breakdown of the forecast when we're expecting the winds. I'll have more details on this and your full 7-day forecast because changes are coming.